Hey everybody, how's it going? So I wanted to do a video updating you on how this real estate thing was going from the store. Unfortunately, I've either gotten sick or gotten some serious food poisoning. Before I went to view that space today, I got one of those like pre-made sandwiches. I knew I shouldn't have done it, but I was running late while I was on the way there. And I don't know what kind of corrosion was sitting on that thing for the probably 6 months that thing was sitting in the deli I got it from. But it did a number on me. I was at the gym, and right at my last set, I just ran to the bathroom before I finished it. I jumped off the pull-up bar, ran to the bathroom, and immediately started throwing up for about 15 minutes. I don't know if it's the food poisoning or just stress. As business has gone up, I've been trying to really update the company documentation, update all the knowledge-based stuff so that I could hire virtually anybody and have them give the same standard of service I do. We've done a really good job of that when it comes to the actual repair and board repair, but we haven't done the best job of when it comes to answering questions as if you were me. So I have had to, I mentioned in a recent video that I stopped putting as much effort into my manuals as I noticed when I started doing YouTube more, and it's been 5 years of slacking off, and I am really paying for that now when I have to catch up and go back and redo all this work that I had been doing from 2009 to 2014 that I stopped in. And also there's doing the normal crazy work schedule I usually do, plus going all around Manhattan, riding my bike at 1 in the morning, trying to find these spaces, trying to deal with all these brokers and visit all these spaces. So I'm going to be taking the rest of today off, probably tomorrow, and until the immediate future, until I just feel like I've caught up on everything, because the stress has honestly been starting to get to me recently. But I do want to give an update on all these spaces because there has been some news, and I also want to get your input. What's really important to me, and when people say, why are you showing all this stuff, I actually do want to get your collective input, whether or not I listen to you, but I like having the feedback. So there's two spaces I want to talk about today, the two that were the front runners in this, which was the 30th Street and 6th Avenue store, which I'll post a link to down below. That's the one with the broker that you all actually liked. And then the restaurant that was on Avenue B and East 4th Street, which a lot of you actually liked. Now, as I said in another video that I'm posting down below, the power of no, that restaurant space was $10,000 a month. It was large, it was gigantic, it was a nice space. The thing is, we had a handshake deal where I said, if all the terms check out in the lease and there's no surprises, I'll be renting the space. We had a handshake deal there, and then he sent me the lease, and it gave no concession. Now, as I said in the Power of No video, it's standard in New York City to give 3 to 6 months of free rent, maybe 2 months if they're stingy, if you have to rebuild the space. So if you're getting Midtown office space and they're building it to your spec, no free rent for you. Get out of here. But if you are walking into a store that is on a corner, that has no gate, where the windows are shoddy, where the floors need to be redone, where the basement has American cockroaches battling it out with Oriental cockroaches that they're eating for sustenance, where there's a bunch of grease and there's actually a vat down there of what I imagine at one time was food that is now liquid that is filled with cockroaches. There's all sorts of disgusting shit. I gotta get rid of. I gotta, do ventilation from scratch to a lot of the place. I gotta do ventilation to the basement. There's a lot of work that needs to be done to that. It's a 150-year-old building. It's a store that doesn't even have a gate. There's a lot of work, and it's normal to give some sort of concession. He was willing to give none. And as I explained in that video, the reason he was willing to give none is because he was letting me not pay for all that expensive restaurant equipment in there that he would usually, ask for key money for of $50,000. And that if I rented the space, I could take that equipment and sell it, and maybe I could make back $50,000. The problem is that equipment, all those hoods and all that stuff, is really only worth it to that extent, to the $50,000 or maybe even the $10,000 extent, if it's installed. You're paying out the ass for the installation of a kitchen, the wiring up to gas, the wiring and installation of the vent hood. That vent hood by itself is not worth much. It's like me saying that the ISL 6259 is most of the cost in a $300 board repair. Like, no, me knowing that that's what I need to fix is what you're fucking paying for. You're not paying for this $4 to $6 chip. So I got back to him and I said, I really appreciate it. Best of luck with the restaurants. If you're not giving any concessions, it's not going to work for me. I appreciate it. It's large. It's $10,000. It's nice. But again, it doesn't need a lot of work. And I think you'd be better off with the restaurant. Steve is 10 times better at bargaining than I am. He spent a good 30 minutes with this dude, going back and forth, and he has bargained his way out of everything. I've seen it in person over the past 6 years. He got nowhere, not an inch. And me being not socially great with these things, I just said, it doesn't seem like I'll be able to take it. Thanks a lot. Best of luck with the restaurant. I'm not going to bargain with you. It's just I suck at it. I'm bad at bargaining. I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to bye-bye. And he got back to me saying, I'd really rather it go to you than a restaurant, even though the restaurant has the $50,000 in key money, which you're not gonna charge $50,000 in key money. Let's be real. But I'd really rather give it to you. I'll give you a 1 month concession, and I'll consider that equivalent to a 6 month because I'm gonna be taking that sweet $50,000 of kitchen equipment with me. And I replied and I said, listen, I really appreciate it. It's just there's a lot of other stores in the area that are open. Many of them are offering 3 to 6 month concessions for rent. I like your place. It has a lot of charm. I really would like to use it, but again, I just can't consider it at that rate. I appreciate it. You're probably better off at the restaurants. I'm not going to insult you by bargaining with you when other people are willing to pay you that amount of money. I'm not going to insult you with bargaining. I appreciate it. Thank you for the time. We're looking elsewhere. And he got back to me again. And now this time, this is the hysterical thing. I suck at bargaining. I fail at it. But when I say no, they keep coming back. And it's like, I've already mentally moved on. In my head, I'm not renting that restaurant. But in my head, since I'm not renting that restaurant, now he wants to keep, messaging me about it. Even though I'm clearly viewing other spaces. And it's, So he says, okay, what about it? We'll offer a 2 month, and that's the best I can do. And I'm about to reply to him and tell him, listen, even at 2 months, I don't, I appreciate it. I'm not trying to bargain with you. It's just even at 2 months, it's not worth it to me. And this kind of gives me a pit in my stomach because the thing is, as I said in the Power of No video, I really don't like bargaining because I believe that when I bargain, I'm kind of telling somebody, listen, I know you think you're worth $15 an hour. No, you're going to do it for $5. Like, screw you. I don't like when people do that to me. I don't like when people try to say what I'm worth. My rates are on my site. I make an argument as to why you should pay my rates rather than some dude on eBay for $70 is going to break all your shit until it's unfixable even by me. And I make my argument. It's all there. If you want to pay me, great. If you don't want to pay me, if you want to take a risk because it's not worth that much to you, I'm not going to bargain. I'm not going to go back and forth. I'm not going to argue with you. I respect it, and I genuinely wish you the best when you go with the cheap person because the cheap person may be somebody trying to get in the business to watch my videos. But I'm not going to bargain. I'm not going to, I don't go back and forth. I don't feel like deflating the value of my staff. I don't want to make concessions and say, hey, I know I gave you a raise, but I got to take that raise back because this customer doesn't want to pay. I don't do that. So, and one of the things that makes me feel empowered to not do that is that I don't do it to others. And there's something about asking somebody to give me their labor, or a building that maybe they bought with the fruits of their labor, with the money that they made from some other job or some other shit before they were able to buy the building, whatever. I feel weird asking people. And I genuinely feel like a piece of shit in the core of my stomach, even though I shouldn't, when I ask for things to be cheaper. And I actually felt like a piece of shit even emailing back with this guy, even though I'm not asking for it to be cheaper. It's bad. It's bad. I shouldn't feel emotional when bargaining, but I do. And it's one of the reasons that I hate doing it. I feel like I'm doing to others what they're doing to me. And I hate when they do it to me. One of the things that empowers me to not deal with it is I don't do it to others. I don't ask other people to devalue their shit. I prefer people not ask me to devalue mine. And it's like I realize that I'm in the winning bargaining position here because I don't want to rent the space. You have already told me that you really would prefer to have me over a restaurant. You've conceded 2 times where you said that you wouldn't, which sets the precedent that you are clearly going to, anytime I walk away, just offer me more money. And it really kind of pisses me off, and I know it shouldn't. I know it's irrational, that I could have easily just paid an additional $20,000 just by not saying no. Like, saying no twice, those 2 syllables of no and then no, that's $20,000 in my pocket that wouldn't have been there otherwise. And that just kind of ticks me off that I even have to do that, but it is what it is. Now, there's another space, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what empowers me to do this bargaining and what I try to use to counter that soon, was the space that you liked on 30th Street and 6th Avenue. That space on 30th Street and 6th Avenue is in Midtown. Midtown, for those of you who are not immersed in New York real estate, is valuable for a number of reasons. The first reason it's valuable is that all the people with the money are there. So all the people who are actually going to have the money to spend on your goods and services are often, there's going to be more of them in Midtown than anywhere else. So I had a store that was on 3rd Avenue and 12th Street in 2013. I'd have one customer walk in every 2 days. If I told them it would cost $10 to replace the back of their iPhone 4, $10 is too much. They'd be like, come on, man, five. If I was in Midtown, there's a store in Midtown that I know of. I was charging $20 at the time of my business. They were charging $50, and nobody was saying anything because it's Midtown. When people are making $250,000 to $500,000 up a year, the difference between $10 and $50 doesn't matter. And when you're in this part of Brooklyn, $10 is a no, whereas $5 is a yes. So that the second reason that Midtown real estate is valuable is that, No, feel too good. The second reason is that it's in the center. So it's in the middle of the city. Every train goes there. So my store right now, you got to take the L train at First Avenue and walk 2 blocks. It is conveniently located by a lot of dorm rooms where the NYU students are, which are the people buying MacBooks with their parents' money. Again, if you can afford to go to NYU, you can afford to pay me for board repair. And it's 2 blocks from the L, but it's only by 1 train. If you're in Midtown, you're by the A, the C, the E, the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4, the 5, the 6, the B, the D, the F. Is there a V anymore? The N, the Q, the R. I don't think there's a W anymore. You're by every major train. So you can advertise, listen, it doesn't matter if you're in Gravesend or Flatbush or East New York or Canarsie or Bushwick or South Bronx or Pelham Bay or Jamaica, Queens, or Sunnyside. You get off your train that you take to come here. You don't got to transfer to another one. You walk a few blocks and you're at my store. That's a big selling point, especially for a destination-based business. As I've said, a majority of the business that is actually profitable comes from New York City, and I'm destination-based. The store is not the thing that matters to me. What matters to me is that people can easily get to me. So once they've Googled me and they figured out that I'm the place they want to go to, the ability to oh, okay, this place is going to make me take 2 trains and then I got to walk 10 blocks, like on the East 4th Street location. That's only by the F, and it's only available if you walk 3 or 4 really long blocks and 4 short blocks. Or this one where I only have to take 1 train to get to it. I get off, I walk 2 blocks, bam, I'm there. That's valuable. That's worth something. That may change people's mind if they were going to use a place like, let's say, Laptop MD or here. That's something that's going to change people's mind. Do I just walk a few blocks over, or do I got to walk 10 blocks and only take this specific train to the middle of bumfuck nowhere when I have very little time to even spend on my chores, when I have to work 10 hours a day and then go home and commute to see my kids? This is a game changer. The thing is, they were asking $15,500, and again, that's the broker that you all liked. You all liked the broker in that video. I'll include it down below. And they were asking $15,500. The space is humongous. You could look in the space. I did my measurements with the Bosch. I actually forgot what they were. I really should have written them down. And I'm being an ass here, but if anybody feels bad for me, you can go through that video, maybe comment when you see me, the readings in the Bosch of each room. That would be great, so we could get an idea of the total. Even though I didn't measure the 2 side rooms, I didn't measure the little bathroom on the left and the right and the break room. But anyway, to get back to the point here and not ramble, since I want to get out of here and go to sleep soon, is that space is 12,000. I mean, I put in an offer of 12,000. They're asking 15,500. They lowered it to 13,900. They're willing to go down to 13,900. I posted a community poll. I offered 12. Should I walk away if it goes over 13? And the majority of you, I think 75% of you, said walk away if it goes over 13. And that's what my gut is telling me. And my gut also is telling me that I feel bad for asking for it to be below 13,000. And the reason is because in that point, we're getting into the $60 range per square foot, which for Manhattan is nothing. It's dirt cheap. And the thing is that, on one hand, I feel bad because now I'm doing the bargaining thing. I know I need to do it, even though I hate it, and I explain why. Because 2 syllables saved me $20,000. And that's an amount of money where it doesn't even matter if I feel like I'm being a little bit of a douche. I will do that, and I will bargain, and I will say no, or I will say no, because it's clear to me at this point that if I don't say no and say, yeah, I know you took time entertaining this offer, reading it, going through my company financials, but no, you're asking too much, that can cost me $20,000. So it's really weird to me, but I actually feel bad at it. And this is probably why I'm bad at bargaining, is because I let emotions get in the way. I get emotional about it. I feel like I'm fucking somebody over when I am asking for further concession. And here, again, in the 60s for Midtown real estate, that is low. But the thing that my head tells me and what helps my gut, and this also helps with the restaurant, is realizing that the market, this is good for the market. Like, that rate is technically low. That is technically low and good for the market that I'm in. The thing that my head tells me is that the market itself is fucked. It's wrong. It's just completely and utterly fucked and should be ignored. So when my broker says, this is one of the best places in the market, I could show you others all day, but it's not going to compare, I believe him, but at the same time, I don't care what the market is because I think the market's bullshit. And I covered this in a video where I was talking about market rent in New York City. Many of these places are vacant. Take, for instance, let's talk about a place I've talked about a few times in the past, 38 West 8th Street. I contacted this broker. Not that, I forget if it was by broker or owner. I think it was by owner. I'm pretty sure it was by owner because this like 72 or something year old lady came by. She was really thinking like a broker because she was so concerned about who I was as a human rather than concerned about my financials and stuff like that, which is kind of what I expect from, this building is her baby kind of thing. Anyway, and the thing is, she was asking $4,000. I didn't bargain. I didn't bargain at all. I said, okay, cool, $4,000. This was 2011. I was 22 years old back then. I was I was young. I was stupid, and I just took it. I said, okay, yeah, you want a 4-month deposit? Okay. You want $4,000 a month? Okay, here's my financials. Here's a copy of my business bank account. I'm going to print it out right in front of you, and here's a check for $20,000. And she said, hold on that. She thought she could get a better tenant. She didn't like the space I was in. She said it didn't look great. Of course it didn't look great. It was a dilapidated basement. That's why I'm willing to hand you a check for $20,000 to get out of it. But the point is, she had a tenant where I was showing her financials. I was showing her that I was capable and willing and ready to pay. I showed her my business. It's a dry use. It's not, it's not a restaurant. It's not a bar. It's not some sort of, porn palace or anything. It's fucking laptop repair. And she still said no. And that space, if you look it up, I bet my ass it still says something International Realty on it if you walk by, because to this day, she never rented it to anybody. And this is not just a story of this one individual. All the places in New York that I've been to, the one that I wish I had recorded the most was the one on 1st Avenue and around 2nd or 3rd Street, which I uploaded a video of, the one where I was mocking him for not getting Popeyes, because that guy was just a straight up, for lack of a better way to say it, that dude was just a straight up cunt. He was just a straight up cunt. I mean, he was saying, so what do you have to offer? Why should I even entertain this? You are dreaming. This is not what you should do. You do not have common sense. You do not understand the market. And I told him, no, I understand the market, which is that you're asking this much. Nobody's willing to pay you. The space has been vacant for 2 years, and you're welcome to keep losing money if you'd like to. But I don't think that's a smart thing to do. If you think that's a smart thing to do, then you do you. But the market tells me that if you're asking this much, and I'm offering this much, and for 2 years, nobody's fucking willing to pay that, then maybe you should consider this shit if it's going to be steady. And he didn't want to rent it either. So many of the other places, they don't want to rent it. So they're asking for what is a market rate. But the thing is, I don't consider that market to be valid if nobody's willing to spend. And one of the things that is happening here is, even as supply goes up, there's more vacant spaces. If you just walk around Manhattan, you'll see them everywhere. More vacant spaces. Less demand. Nobody's renting them. They're open for 2 to 8.5 years. Nobody's renting them. And there's, in spite of the fact that nobody's renting them, the prices never go down. So you'd think if for 8 years I wasn't able to get my asking price, or even somebody was willing to pay my asking price, maybe if somebody's willing to pay my asking price and it's been vacant for 8 years, maybe I should just say yes and accept it, rather than waiting for the fucking Queen of England to come by and rent the space to do nothing with it. But they don't. And the thing is, what it really comes down to is the fact that New York City landlords and New York City commercial property outlets, they don't want to rent as much as the tenants want to rent. So I want to find a place for my business within the next 8 years more than any of these individuals want to rent the place. They're okay with leaving it like that. It doesn't matter to them. We're not going back and forth. There's no real bargaining going on because they don't care. If they let that space sit vacant for a year, 2 years, 5 years, even 8 years, they're entirely okay with it. So it doesn't really matter if I am, if I don't take it, or if I offer a 10 or 20% lowball and they say we're not even willing to take that concession. It's not really, so when they say market rate, the reason I'm explaining this is because when they say market rate, you should take it, it's a good deal. In my gut, I feel bad because I feel the same way that I feel when somebody's constantly lowballing me and saying, hey, I know you said $10 to get your iPhone back replaced. Can I get it for $5? What the difference here is that when I'm asking for $10 to replace that iPhone 4 back, is that what I'm asking is actually reasonable. I have a storefront. I paid $3 for this thing. I'm asking to make a $7 profit for a minute or two of my time. And the fact that I have a store, really? I mean, you're going to have to pay $4 to $5 just to get a good proprietary screwdriver to open the bottom of that thing so that you don't strip it like you do with all the freebie screwdrivers. That sucks. I mean, I think it's a good deal. $10 for the... Whereas I'm offering a fair rate within the market. And the thing that I think is going to help me be less emotional when I'm really going hardball and bargaining is realizing that my market is a sustainable one that makes sense. Their market is a bullshit one. Because in my market, there actually is a line of people willing to pay my price. So if I say this is $200 and they go, I want it for $150 and I refuse to accept less, I say no because my slots in my store are full. I'll show you at a later time, but every single slot is entirely full. I cannot fit more people in my store. There are times where Paul goes to go to lunch and he can't physically leave without, using an air horn or something, because there's so much business. So I know that my market is a fair one. I'm charging fair market rates for fair market services. Here, they claim the market this is the market rate, but everybody else is saying that the market is this rate, even if nobody's buying. And I don't accept that in a market. I don't accept it if all these places are open. If the vacancy rate is that high and all of these buildings have vacant space in them because nobody's willing to pay your price, then that's a distorted market, and I don't care for it. I'm at this point where I'm very close to saying most of my business is walk-in in New York City. Like most of it that is actually profitable. Not the people that watch a YouTube video, send something in after their cousin destroys it. I mean somebody who didn't rehot their CPU. Profitable is here. I'm at the point where I think I should just put my money where my mouth is and just say, fuck all of you. I'm just leaving. Because I think that if more companies leave the city, that all these landlords and all these brokerage companies and all these property management firms are going to have to get their head out of their ass. Because once there's nobody here to go to the Starbucks that you're holding out for 5 years to have rent your space, then you're going to really notice that you kind of fuck yourself in the ass. And I think that really does need to happen in New York real estate before things return to normal. People have to leave the city, leave the state. People have to genuinely realize, I know I was told in the movies this was the place of dreams. This is now the place of Starbucks, Chase, and Whole Foods. It's time to get out of here before these landlords take their head out of their ass. And by then, I think it may be too late. So anyway, I've been rambling for a while now. So what I have to debate here is A, what do I say on the restaurant? Do I just write it off and say, listen, I know you're offering 2 months concession, still no. Because I'm not going to say what I want. Because what I want clearly doesn't matter. When I say no, that's what does something. So he's willing to offer 2 months. I realize I'm in the strong bargaining position there. And at this point, I'm learning to not take it emotionally, or to not feel emotionally bad about myself, or to feel like a piece of shit, or to feel like a lowballing scumbag because I'm asking for less. And I'm kind of wondering, well, what do I do there? Do I tell the guy, you offered me, because I know I'm in the position of superiority or strength here in the negotiating deal, because I haven't made concessions to you, but you've made 2 concessions to me. They're not enough, but you've still made 2, which tells me that in that relationship, I'm the one that is unmovable, whereas you're the one who 2 times has faltered. So maybe I should just take advantage of that and say, okay, maybe you don't have a restaurant that wants to buy the place. Maybe you can't get $50,000 for it. No, I want 3 months. I want 4 months. I want 6 months of free rent. Well, I get rid of all your damn cockroaches, all your grease, all the food and rotten shit and broth that's in that basement. Redo the ventilation, build walls, build flooring, redo the lighting, redo the electrical work, get a gate, redo all those front windows that look like junk and that have those crappy shutters that people will easily break. You could probably take a glass Coca-Cola bottle, smash it against one of those windows and it would break. Well, I do all that. I'll do it. I want 6 months concession. Or just keep saying no and just just see what happens. I'm not really sure what I should do. Do I ask for more? Do I just keep saying no? Or do I just say screw it all together because it's so hard to work with you to get what I believe is fair and what everybody else believes to be fair that maybe I just shouldn't even have you as a landlord? And with that 30th Street space, do I keep going back and forth? Because my broker is saying if you send another offer for $12.9, there's a good chance that they just blacklist and just stop responding altogether. They're not even going to have a counter offer. They're just going to stop considering it. But at the same time, I think in the long term, again, in the 60s per square foot is reasonable. They're offering something like 71 or 72. But I have to remember that this kind of market rent that they're saying is in and of itself bullshit because nobody's willing to pay it. If they were willing to pay it, all these places would not be vacant. And what's supposed to be one of the financial capital of the world. Why is the financial capital of the world have so many spaces that nobody's in? It's because your market is made by you. It's not made by people who are going back and forth and bargaining. It's made up of you saying you want this much money, everybody else saying, you know what, I'll pay this, but if you go above that, I'm not going to rent to you. And them saying, okay, that's cool, we'll keep it here. It's not a market. So I offered 12. My broker was saying maybe try 12.9 since they came back with 13.9, but you shouldn't because if you go below that, they're just going to blacklist you. I don't want to take it at 13.9. I'm kind of curious what you think I should do. How do you think I should handle the restaurant? How do you think I should handle the Midtown store? How would you go back and forth with these individuals? And how would you go back and forth with them in the future? How do you keep yourself from feeling like a piece of shit when you're bargaining and lowballing back and forth in these negotiations, especially when other people try to make you feel unreasonable? You know, when people do that in my store, I'll happily tell them, like, go to Drive Savers. You think that me charging you $300 to get data off of a phone and spin in a pool is unreasonable? You go to Drive Savers. You go to Null On Track and get, you know, your CPU reflowed and solder balls popping out of everywhere. You go there and you see their prices and then come back. So when people make me feel like I am, oh, come on, man, you're being unreasonable, I don't have that feeling in the pit of my stomach because, you know, I can always, hey, go to the Apple store and pay $2,000 for a bent fucking pin on your screen cable. You know, really, I don't feel that bad. But in real estate, perhaps because it's not my forte, I can't get that feeling out of the pit of my stomach where I just feel like such a piece of shit, you know, for bargaining. But part of the thing that I have to remember is that, again, it's not a real market. It's a market that is being manipulated by people that know that they can go for 8 years without renting and not care. And I think part of what I need to do to get out of being emotional when dealing with this, or get out of being feeling like a prick when I bargain, or feeling unreasonable, whether from the broker side or the landlord side, is just keep reminding myself that it's not a fair market. It's not a real market, because if it was a real market, the spaces would be rented. I'm repeating myself now because I'm sick and I don't feel too well. I'm going to try to stop repeating myself at this point and just log off. You've probably wasted too much of your time watching this thing already. Let me know. How do you think I should deal with these places? I'm seriously taking all of your input on this. Which space do you think I should go for more? The Midtown space that you liked on 30th Street and 6th, or the restaurant on Avenue B and 4th? Do you think I should just say screw those places altogether because I have a lease until 2023, torture my employees a little bit more, let them stay in a space that is the size of a fucking acorn for a little bit longer so that I can suss it out? Do you think that if I try to suss it out for longer that the market, I'll feel bad that I missed out on these places that were supposed deals? And also, how do you all deal with it when you're negotiating back and forth and somebody makes you feel unreasonable? How do you go about not taking it personally or emotionally? How do you keep that feeling from developing in the pit of your stomach? Because maybe there's something I can learn from all of you, and I would appreciate it. And above all, what would you like to see in more of these videos? Because this is taking up a lot of my time at this point. And one of the ways that when they lie and they say 4,000 square feet when it's less than 1,500, or they say 1,800 square feet when it's less than 900, one of the ways that I kind of make up for the fact that my time's been wasted is the entertainment value. So, you know, I have to waste a lot of time into this, and I always try to make things win-win in spite of that Jim Camp Start With No book. I like making things win-win for myself. If I'm going to be investing all this time into something that is a pain in the ass, I might as well make it entertaining. And ultimately, sharing and filming the bullshit that these people say without any shame and uploading it is kind of what makes it fun. So tell me what it is you'd like to see more of. What are your suggestions for this little series? I imagine this is going to go on for quite a while, given that there are so many spaces that I have to look through before I find one that's even remotely not a ripoff. Really just like some feedback. Anyway, I'm going to go to sleep nice and early, and I'm probably going to sleep until Thursday or Friday because I have overworked a little bit and it's starting to screw up my health. So I will see you all later. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, I hope you learned something.